my name is Toby and welcome to Paint Quest, my personal journey from becoming a novice painter to maybe someday a master. So this is the first episode after a break of 12 years of me doing the hobby, and how are we going to jumpstart this with this box from Games Workshop. 12 years ago I got rid of everything concerning the hobby, paints, miniatures. I sold everything off of eBay, and now I'm really sad about it because I have no miniature to paint. We got the paints, we don't have any miniature. But when I went to the local Games Workshop and I bought this box, they were so nice to offer me one miniature for free, which is like a Space Marine or a miniature from the game Age of Sigmar, which is a game which didn't exist when I was still playing Warhammer. Back in the days, like 12 years ago, 13 years ago, there was a game called Warhammer Fantasy, which is like the fantasy brand of 40k, and now there's a game called Age of Sigmar. So they showed me the miniatures, looked really cool, so this is what we are going to paint today. A stormcast from the game Age of Sigmar. Okay, let's finally start painting. A quick look at the back of the box. We have a very limited set of colors. Our goal is the picture from the front of the Stormcast box, so I will try to mimic the color scheme as well as where the highlights go on the armor. As you can see here, I'm kind of hesitant, and I must say I'm quite intimidated holding a brush after such a long time, and kind of afraid of messing the only miniature up I have at the moment. But it's going to be the first of many miniatures, so in the first step I would say let's just start and put some paint on this boy. Let's go and start with Canter Blue on the shoulder pads. One of the most important things I remember from years ago is to never apply the colors directly from the pot, but to always thin them down and create smooth layers without any texture. So I do my best to cover all the parts and then move on to the golden brass-like armor. For this to create a highlight effect, I don't use 100% of the Retributor armor, but a 1-to-1 mix of it and the Buckman's glow, so we have in theory a broader color space to later create highlights on. Well, in theory, I don't know if it's a good idea yet. Maybe it's the first lesson to be learned on this journey. I cover everything which I think is part of the Stormcast armor. Painting was always something like meditation to me. It's just you, the brush, colors and creativity. And that's exactly why I wanted to get back into this hobby. Stress at work and somewhat a lack of creativity made me want to rediscover and connect with the hobby of my youth. After the armor was done, it was time to wash it down with the supplied Agrax Earthshade. At this stage, I'm really frustrated about the brush and the starter set. The tip is not pointy enough for me to make all the thin highlights on the detailed spots on the miniature. So the first thing after this video will be a trip to Amazon and buy some decent brushes. So I would like to show you some pictures like how I painted 12 years ago. I had Tau army, I had a Tyranid army, but unfortunately I sold everything off of eBay and I don't even have any pictures of those miniatures. So in my head, in my mind, I still have this glorified picture of extreme beautiful miniatures which look like the box art from Games Workshop, like here on the website. But the reality probably looks extremely different and more something like this, you know. I went back to my parents' house and I discovered up in the attic actually a game called the Claymore Saga, which is like a board game from the 90s. And I found something really interesting. The first miniature, or one of the first miniatures I actually ever painted. This guy here. It's, like I said, an ogre from the game Claymore Saga. In other countries, I think Games Workshop marketed that game as Battle Masters. Here was Claymore Saga and was just like a battle against, I think, the armies of Chaos and Orcs versus the Imperium and Bretonia. I'm not really sure, but it's a game from the 90s, and this is the first miniature, like one of the first miniatures I ever painted. And here you can see like it's not really a good job. So let's hope the Stormcast today is not going to end up with this boy. But at some point on this channel, I think I'm going to repaint him. but that's like, I would say, more at the end of the journey over here. And currently we are here at the very beginning, so I would say we just go back to the Stormcast and see how good that's going to turn out. Next up is some detailed work with Mephiston Red on the sword on his back and Avalon Sunset on the detail on his shoulder pad. I painted as much detail as possible with this wanky brush. The tip was already curving up, so I thinned down blue to give the face of the shield more contrast and create something which behaves somewhat like a wash, because it was just not possible with this brush to make detail work and put some highlights on this little face here. Really frustrated with this brush at this point. I painted more highlights on the details on the armor, on the shield, and at the very end I dry brushed the base and gave everything a nice finish. And now is the moment we all have waited for. Let's see how the miniature is going to look after 12 years of not holding a brush. Painting this, I would say, mediocre paint job, and give it a grand reveal. So this is how it looked before, and that's the result. I'm actually proud of the result, even though when I look at it now I notice some mistakes I would already do differently on the next paint job. So the big lesson learned is don't mix metallics with colors to dull it down. That's what the wash is for. The same thing with the highlights. I think I mixed the white with the Leadbelcher metallic to create like a bright silver finish on the armor and helmet, but instead it looks like the paint flaked off and you can see the plastic shown underneath. The face, this is a good example, it really looks like I rubbed off the metallic and the plastic is shown below, and that's not really good. So my overall rating, overall I would say I would give the miniature a C-, but what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Maybe you have some tips for me, maybe you have an opinion what I did wrong that I can learn from it. Just write it in the comments below. Otherwise I would say, if you want to follow my journey from zero to hopefully someday hero, then just push this button and join the quest, and you will not miss the next video when I'm going to paint the second miniature or third miniature. Yeah, thanks for watching, and see you in the next one. Bye bye.